My job is the leader of the official opposition.
You can call it the leader of the op.
The leader of the op?
You talked about Doug Ford. He was like, you've never operated a lemonade stand. And then you were like, well, at least my lemonade stand was legal. I was like, oh.
I did say that.
We are entering the holiday season. You are the op of Doug Ford. So are you going to get him a Christmas present this year?
I'll get him something maybe a little spicy.
Get him a Scotch bonnet pepper and tell him to bite into that.
I'll tell him when he stirs it in his rice and beans.
Rice and peas. Rice and peas.
Rice and peas.
Well, Marit Stiles, NDP leader Marit Stiles, who I like to call Doug Ford's biggest op.
Oh, I like that.
Back on the BG show, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. Yeah. I mean, it's been a wild few weeks, but yeah, doing pretty good.
Well, I mean, let's go through the last few weeks, right? Because you've been talking the things, right? I mean, the province saw you call Doug Ford's government corrupt. Yeah. That was a big moment.
Yeah.
Run me through why.
Well, government's caught up in a big scandal.
Yeah.
The auditor found out that this big fund, $2.5 billion of like taxpayer money that's there to fund training and get people retrained for jobs and things like that. And the auditor said, no, the Minister of Labor controls that fund and is getting in there and is bumping up his friends' applications to the top of the list. Lobbyists who are connected to the government are making a lot of money because they're associated with getting those files bumped up.
Right.
And so she called it preferential treatment, and she really called him out. And I said, look, when you got money going from government funds into friends and family and insiders' pockets, that's corruption, and we got to call it what it is.
The moment you said that, though, the Speaker of the House, they told you have to leave. Why?
Well, there's lots of things you can't say in the legislature, and you can imagine some of the words you can't say. But one of the words you can't say is corrupt. You can't also call somebody a liar. And when you do that, the Speaker will say, "Okay, well, withdraw." But in that moment, and usually I go, yeah, okay, withdraw. But this time I thought, no, I've been asking these questions for almost 6 weeks now.
Yeah.
Every day. And it's important because, like, especially right now, we got 700,000 people without jobs right now, looking for jobs in Ontario. We got the fourth highest unemployment for young people in the country. And people want their government working for them, not for like their friends. So I really thought it was a moment to call it out. And I've been asking the government to do better and for that minister to resign. They won't do it. So I just said, you know what, this time you're going to have to walk me out.
And you walked out with pride.
I did, yeah. Because I look at it like this, it's my job as the leader of the official opposition.
You can call it the leader of the op.
The leader of the op. It's my job as leader of the op to get to ask the questions that people need answers to, and they want answers to right now. A lot of people are struggling right now, and so I feel like that's a privilege of mine. And a lot of people out there are getting hit hard, but I can stand up to Doug Ford. And when he's been a little unhappy about some of the things I've been asking him lately. He's getting a little grumpy, but that doesn't bother me. Like, I've stood up to bigger bullies than that, so I'm okay.
Well, the thing is, like, the moment that people saw, you call his government corrupt, it felt like a lot of people were agreeing with you, like, especially online. Yeah. So you and your core, you believe Doug Ford's government is corrupt.
I've seen it too many times. Like there was the Greenbelt thing, which some people might remember a couple years ago, the big scandal. I mean, they're still being investigated by the RCMP. A criminal investigation is underway. Now this, which I got to tell you, I've been around this stuff for a long time. And when something like this happens and the auditor, who's like totally outside of politics, says, no, this is not okay.
Yeah.
The Minister of Labor should resign, and if he's not resigning, he should be fired, and the government needs to take responsibility to do better, and they haven't done that, and that really bothers me because I feel like the least that people should be able to expect from their government is that they're not actually corrupt, that they're not taking from you, especially at a time like this. For me, it's about trying to be where people are at right now. What people are telling me is they've lost their patience. We've had 8 years of this. So I've seen it too many times. The Ontario place, there's a lot of examples where I think people are asking questions like, who are they actually serving?
Well, you talked about Doug Ford, firing shots back. Just the other day, things got fiery again. Yeah. He said, "You will never be premier."
Yeah.
And you were like... Bring it on, boy. You were like, bring it on.
Yeah.
Well, first off, how did you feel when he fired that shot at you?
Well, it makes me angry. Like, I think he's going to a new low. But, the other thing is, honestly, is like when he starts acting like that, I know I'm onto something. Like, okay, that's really getting you. You're feeling a little emotional here, a little touchy.
Because the shots felt personal. Because he was like, "You've never operated a lemonade stand. You don't know about payroll, about all the, budgeting. You bankrupt the lemonade stand." And then you were like, "Well, at least my lemonade stand was legal." I was like, "Oh."
I did say that. Look.
So is his lemonade stand not legal?
I'm not going to comment on his lemonade stand. All I know is that, he doesn't obviously know much about me or my background. He doesn't care. He's just being mean. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens with bullies, right? When they get cornered. So I've stood up to, I'm 5'1", but I've stood up to some pretty big bullies. Mm-hmm. And I got the job that, people kind of hired me to do, elected me to do, to stand up for them. And I'm not afraid of him. I'm not afraid. Like, people have said to me, is he going to come at you and sue you for calling them corrupt? I said, you know what? Go ahead. Bring it on. I would just love to go to court and let him prove to me that this government is not corrupt, because they'll have to share all kinds of information from behind the scenes, all kinds of stuff that they don't want to share. Bring it on. But look, I'm not afraid. I have to go out there every day and listen to people who are having a hard time, right? Because we all know people who are like regular people who are working like multiple jobs, who are struggling to make rent, struggling to make their mortgage, especially young people finding anywhere affordable to live. People are looking at the holidays going, how am I going to afford things? And that's just, a lot of people are going to food banks who have jobs, who have kids. Like, it's bad. And so sometimes I feel like there's a moment when you got to say, you know what? I'm not afraid of you. You can insult me all you want to. I'm tough. I can handle it. I just don't want you beating up on the other people. I want to make sure we start to do some good things in this province and turn things around.
Do you think the cracks are starting to show in Fortress Ford Nation?
I do. I think a lot of people didn't vote in the last election. 55% of people didn't vote, right? And that tells me that people are like, it doesn't matter, right? Because everybody's the same, or he's going to get elected anyways, or nobody else is going to do anything any different. And what I'm hearing from people as I'm traveling around the province a lot and talking and listening to people is they're kind of giving up hope. And I think what's happened in the last few weeks is they've seen somebody fighting for them, I hope. And maybe they realize, like, it doesn't have to be like this. They look at what's happening in other provinces where they don't have the same unemployment rate we do, where they're building homes, where they're controlling rent, things like that. And they see people having a more affordable life. We can do things differently. And I think people are starting to wonder, what is going wrong in Doug Ford, Ontario? We're 8 years into this government, and like, our unemployment rate is through the roof. Like I told you, like 700 right now people looking for work in the province of Ontario. Like, that's the size of Hamilton. So
it's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
It's a new energy we're seeing from you. Yeah. I'm gonna be real with you.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, do you wish you had this energy in the election? Because you're more direct right now, and it almost sounds, and excuse my French, like you don't give two Fs.
Well, a little bit maybe, because I just think you try different things, right? And you can go out there and you can talk about what you think is important. Mm-hmm. But if you're not, you got to listen to people. After the election, I went on the road.
You were probably upset with the results of the election.
I wasn't happy. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not happy unless I'm defeating the government.
Right.
And because I think that what's happening right now, what I see is really bad. It's not good. And I don't think most people can go on much longer like this. And I don't see it getting better. Like,
you think it's going to get worse?
Well, we got big layoffs happening, right? Brampton.
All
over the province.
The Stellantis plant.
Stellantis, auto, like big sectors that, even if you're not working there, the fact that those people, there's so many jobs there. When those jobs go, it impacts like all of Peel region, right? It, like, every region of this province is getting hit. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I want to see the government come up with a plan. I want to see them come up with a plan. Stunts and things like that, they're just not going to do it. And
you're talking about the stunts, like him pouring out the Crown Royal and stuff like that?
Yeah, like it's.
And then it took forever for the alcohol to come out. It did take
a very long time.
No shade, Doug Ford.
No shame, but
that was hard to watch. I was like, it's like the time. Like, I gotta get back to work.
And he gets out his ice cream and eats ice cream on camera or whatever. It's like, but I think, look, he's got a really important job. It's a really big job. And I will work with him and try to make it, make sure he does the right things.
Do you think he's doing anything right now?
I mean, I think that he is talking about the right things. Like, I think talking about, training people for new jobs, creating new opportunities. He's talking about it, but we're not seeing it turn around. And we're not, and actually a lot of the deals that he's made with companies over the last few years to stay here, there weren't really many strings attached. So government gives a lot of money to companies. There's no strings attached. And so guess what's happening now with all the tariffs? They're leaving. And jobs are leaving this province fast. And I think, we're not building the homes that we said we should be building. So we talk a lot about the right things, but we're not actually seeing results. So that's my job, to put some heat on it, to shine a light on it and say, like, okay, you said you're going to do this. Let's go. And if I see things that are being done that I think are really improper, or corrupt, I'm going to call it out. For sure, because I've got no patience for that, and you're right. My patience has run out, and I think when I go around the province like I have, especially since the election, a lot, it really makes it really clear that we need somebody, and we need a solution, we need a plan, and we need action now, and that there are other provinces that are doing it. We need to do it here in Ontario, and we got to stop with the stunts and actually get real right now. And stop wasting people's money. You pay taxes.
Too much.
You're paying taxes, and they go into a fund like that should be doing good things.
Right.
And instead, now you know that it's actually going to help out a company that was at the bottom of the pile, got bumped up to the top, and the reason it got bumped up to the top was because they're friends of the minister, or their lobbyists that they hired for millions of dollars is a friend of the premier's or the campaign manager to the premier. They even gave money, a skills training fund money, to a nightclub owner who runs a strip club down here. And yeah, it's true. So, no judgment about,
listen, people got to make money because clearly there's no jobs.
There's no jobs. But I do think, that's government funds. So we need to, at least be clear about what's going on here, and somebody needs to take some responsibility.
I got to ask you about Bill 60.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of people who rent, very worried that, the Ford government did pass Bill 60. A lot of people feel like it is going to put, renters at risk of being more easily displaced. Yeah. What's your thoughts? I mean, he has a majority government, so it's not like you guys could have done much to stop it.
Yeah, I guess, a couple things. First of all, we were really pushing, just goodness, if you're going to make changes like that are going to impact so many people in Ontario that rent, because lots of people rent, more than 30% of the population rent, right? And if you're going to impact that many people, then you should at least hear from them. They should have had a chance, consultations where people could talk about what was going on. And I think that really frustrated a lot of people. But yeah, I always tell people though, it doesn't end just when the laws are passed, right? We can keep pushing. We can keep telling the government why this is a bad move. We've seen the government before, sometimes much later, but sometimes they've reversed course because they realized that the laws they passed were bad and they weren't working or they were hurting people. We can keep pushing for it. We're going to keep pushing until they change that law again.
What do you think a proper solution is? Because also on the other side of the spectrum, a lot of people who were landlords said that some renters were acting not in the best way and would abuse the system, right, and try not to pay their rent.
Yeah.
So I can see both sides, right? I don't want to say it's...
No. Look, you know what? The system right now, what they call the landlord-tenant board, where you go if you've got a problem, if you're a landlord or a tenant, it's not working for anybody. Right. Everybody's having to wait forever. It's not working for anybody. It's especially not working for tenants, but it's also not working for small landlords. The big corporate landlords are the ones that we're seeing really abuse the system, and we're getting rents are starting to go higher and higher. So, the real solution, first of all, you can fix that, hire more people to be like the adjudicators, they call them. But you could also bring back rent control. We used to have rent control so that, you didn't have to worry that your rent was going to keep going up and up and up, or that when you left your apartment, the next tenant was going to see their rent go skyrocket. Rent is going up way too high. Everybody knows that who's a renter, and we can control it, and the governments control that. And we used to do it here until Doug Ford got elected. So we got to fix that. We got to bring it back, because people right now cannot afford the rent we have. Even if you have a really good job in Toronto and in most places in the province, you're going to be paying way more of your income on rent than you should be. And that means you don't have money for food, for anything. And that's hurting the economy.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mart, last question for you, because we are entering the holiday season.
Yeah.
And you are the op of Doug Ford. So are you going to get him a Christmas present this year?
Oh, that's a good idea. I should.
And what would you get him?
I think I would get him, I'll get him something maybe a little spicy, because our conversations have been a little spicy, maybe a little spicy, some chili oil or something like that to spice up his Christmas the way he's spicing up my life lately.
Get him a Scotch bonnet pepper.
A Scotch
and
bonnet
tell him
pepper.
to bite into that.
You know what? I'll tell him when he stirs it in his rice and beans that he actually stirs it really fast.
Rice and peas. Rice and peas.
Stir it up really fast so it breaks. He'll regret that.
NDP leader Marit Stiles, thanks so much for joining me. We're going to continue watching and seeing
Yeah.
how things unfold at Queen's Park.
Yeah, thank you.